Which character death hit you differently? And why? Count Olaf in a series of unfortunate events. The books. Just something about a man so shaped by his own misery becoming a figure of cruelty and greed. Relentless in pursuing the misery of others. He believes all people are this way in reality. And cannot see through the darkness. Use his intelligence and skills for good. Then he just dies. Unredeemed on a coastal shelf. And no one has anything to say. That's also what I liked about the books as a kid. There was an underlying message of, sometimes terrible things happen and there's not much you can do about it. But try to get out the other side kicking. Thomas J. from My Girl. When Veda is crying at his funeral. Screaming about his glasses. That hits different. Gets me every time. He needs his glasses. He can't see without his glasses. Ugh. Still cuts. Captain K's death in Jojo Rabbit. Watched it last night expecting the mom to die, but the captain's death made me tear up because it was unexpected. The mom's death got me. I knew there had to be a reason they kept focusing on her shoes. Washburn in Serenity. He was my favorite character from Firefly. And I just wasn't expecting it at that point in the movie. Legion. On Me 3. That is heartbreaking. More if you choose to kill him. Does this unit have a soul? That horse in the never-ending story? Artax. I'm 35 years old and still cannot watch that movie without crying when peeping Artax dies in the goddamn swamp of sadness. The Netflix thumbnail for that movie is that very scene. It's a nice reminder that I don't want to rewatch that fever dream of a film. Ellie. From Up. My so is relatively quiet and I'm the complete opposite, energetic. Always have something to say. We've been together for 10 years now and met at 16. I worry that we can't conceive children someday, and that's partly because of a pretty bad miscarriage I had years ago. In turn, I worry about him being lonely and even quieter if I die first. The dad in the book The Road. Maybe because my son was born just a month earlier. But it was incredibly sad. The father tried so hard to live. To care for his son. Who is now alone. In the cold. Devastated. Uncle Iroha's son from Avatar The Last Airbender. Tales of B.A. Singh S.E. The real Avatar Last Airbender. Not the hack version from M. Night Shyamalan. You're never introduced to him. But you can convey from the deep sorrow Iroha pours out how his death affected his personal purview and moral edict. It made me cherish the world's friendships and lives you build with people because you are an influence to many. And pouring poison into a vessel is a quick way to make you regret how you passed along what you said and did. Edit. Clarification: because despite talking about Avatar The Last Airbender, people are being purposefully obtuse. The end scene always makes me cry. Him saying happy birthday to his son. His singing. And then him breaking down. Always gets me. That girl from the bridge to Terabithia. That hit me so hard as an 8-year-old. A kid in my elementary school who was really smart and way above reading level had his 7th birthday party to go see this movie. Invited the whole class. But he was the only one who read the book. The rest of the party was just a bunch of parents trying to console their weeping children. One girl was crying so hard she threw up. When Stringer Bell died on The Wire, I seriously considered not watching the rest of the series. I'm glad I did continue. But later deaths like Omar and Snoop were no easier. D'Angelo's death left me gobsmacked. It's so quick, and that dude who murdered him, Muggs or whatever, just walks out like it wasn't anything. Brutal. Stoic from How to Train Your Dragon 2. Not so much the way he died, but the funeral scene. The music and the recital by Gabor. Oh yes. This is the one. He just got his wife back. Family's all happy and then he dies. I didn't want to rewatch that movie for a long time because of how sad I felt about that. Logan. Cause I literally grew up with those movies and that character. When I went to bed after seeing it for a second time, I probably cried to sleep. It was as if my childhood ended there. Nell in Haunting of Hill House. The whole Bent Neck Lady episode and the funeral episode were absolute TV masterpieces. The realization of what happened is heartbreaking. I loved you completely. And you loved me the same. The rest is confetti. Fred Weasley. Beep man, I cry every single time I read that bit. I think it's because Percy has just come back and they're joking around and then he's dead. I absolutely sobbed watching the movie when Ron realizes he's dead. Tadashi Hamada in Big Hero 6. I am nearly 30 and I cry every time at the scene where Baymax is showing Hiro the videos of Tadashi working on him. One of my favorite movies. Are you satisfied with your care? Fry's dog in Futurama. That episode was so heartfelt and I just couldn't. Perhaps it hits different for me cause my mom is a big Packers fan. But the episode about Fry's mom always makes me tear up. Mufasa in The Lion King. I was going to say the same thing. Simba seeing his dad dead. Crying and talking to him tear-filled and cuddling up to him is the biggest punch to the gut I could get. John Coffey from Green Mile. I can't believe this hasn't been said yet. That movie hit me different. Edit. Spelling thanks you / Queen of Tira. And rewording. John Coffey. Like the drink. Only not spelled the same way. Arthur Morgan. He was a good man who was dealt a bad hand. Really sorry for you, son. It's a hell of a thing. Still choke up over this game. When his horse is dying and he whispers thank you, that Speep destroyed me. Ah man. That bit was brutal. I just can't get over that game for some reason. Kaaaar no. Shai Charles from Henry Stickmin. You know why? Could say it was the greatest PLA. Boom. Loki in Infinity War. Not because of some great affinity for the character, but because I was absolutely certain that he was the one person who was safe from being offed. Of course. He not only died but he died first. It's been years and I'm still waiting for him to come back. That made no sense to me at all. Loki always struck me as someone who is way too smart to try and do something like that and just get killed right away too easily like that. Ragnar. From Vikings. He was the one aspect that balanced everything. After he went, their community went to Speep. Also, he used his head to lead. Hvitserk and Ivar were stupid leaders concerned with superficial things. Abi and Bjorn were still much better and wiser. But anyway. After Ragnar left, I kinda got depressed, man. What a character. His soliloquy about Athelstan and how he'll never be able to meet him again. The king of the Vikings. Sieging Paris and humiliating his childhood friend. Is doing it all because to avenge Athelstan. Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense. My dumb ass never saw it coming. Samth Dog in I Am Legend. Because he was Will Smith's friend and he had to put her down. And the last part of his family left. The pain in Cedric Diggory's dad's voice as he screams, "That's my boy," always got to me. Vesemir's death in Witcher 3. Cried like a baby and I still cry every time I replay the game. Jonathan Joestars and Butchie Artis. I was really emotionally connected with them. Especially by their backgrounds. Jorge and SGT. Johnson from Halo. And Dominic Santiago from Gears of War 3. Just the entire last Dark Tower book. Matthew from Downton Abbey. Life had so many good things reserved for him that he didn't get to experience. And he died in such an unexpected way. It hit me hard. Weather report from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. He was so close but eventually it had to end for him. Snape. And it hit me extra hard because Alan Rickman also died a few years after the movie version of Snape's death was released. Neji from Naruto. He used to be an elitist prick but turned into a good person. Right before they killed him off. Hachiko's death on the 2009 movie opened the floodgate of tears and there's no going back now. Prior watching the film. I don't cry in movies. I would also add a death from Attack on Titan. But it's a manga/season 4 spoiler. So I won't say anything. For the curious ones. All I can say is it's a very early death. That death was so sudden. It hit really hard TT. Leslie in Bridge to Terabithia. Hands down. Everybody from the Band of the Hawk in Berserk wasn't really crying, was just about to burst from anger.